But we do have 2 more series coming up. One of them now, Viper versus Orange. I picked this out at the start of the day as my match to watch. Viper is currently the guy that needs a 2-0 week. There's a whole bunch of tiebreaker calculations that go into this week as to who's getting relegated. But for some players, the equation is simple. And that's why I picked this one out. Viper needs to go 2-0. If Orange wins today, he is safe. So this is very, very, very simple. Both players must win today.
Indeed. I think it's been a good fight for these two, but Orange has had a couple matches slip away from him. He's had some words on Twitter about his own play, which, while I don't want to disagree with him, frankly I do. I think he plays pretty darn well in most spots that I've seen. For Viper, it's been a rough season, and I think a lot of it has been brought about in a very unfortunate context where you bring risky decks, the risky decks don't pay off, and it makes the question bigger than it actually should be. For Viper, he's been doing what he did to get to Grandmasters. It's doing somewhat of his own thing. It's playing differently than how other people think, and he said it in pieces before. If I do the same thing that everyone else does, can I expect to win? Hasn't panned out for him, and now he's facing relegation.
And you see it there again, Archmage Vargoth. Again, Viper has paid a lot of consideration to Holy Wrath Paladin this week, and much like Tice, Orange might have looked over at these deck lists, given the little smile, and said, yep, got him. He has been known as to bring a bunch of Holy Wrath Paladin, but not particularly play it. And he even then confessed in an interview that we had with him on air, so I'm not giving away any information here, where he said, you know, how often have you actually seen me play Holy Wrath Paladin? It's not a deck that I put a ton of practice into up until this point. So I think, if anything, Orange will be pretty happy to discard that deck and say, I feel like that's going to get targeted. Holy Wrath Paladin has had its time. I'm going to leave it on the wayside for now.
Think about Reno Mage, too. It's a deck that he's brought a lot this week.
Yep.
Hunter on the other side for Viper. No Reno Mage for Orange this week.
That is a fantastic matchup for that Hunter.
Oh, yes. And Orange this week just brought the good stuff, or what is considered across Europe the good stuff. This has been like the standard lineup with Priest, Druid, Shaman, and Warrior.
Yeah, one Eternium Rover, though. Unlucky.
For my glory.
Yeah, that's something you can go tweet about. Viper doesn't have any Eternium Rovers. I think that's better than running one of them, I'll tell you that much. How else do you fit in all the tech cards? Early on in this matchup, Viper facing a pretty uphill battle. This matchup is very tough for Warrior.
It is. On multiple fronts, you can get outvalued, you can get outbursted, you can get outboarded, you can get out-tempoed. Like, just apply something after the word out, and it can happen to you as Warrior in this matchup.
You could technically get out Vargothed. They mutate a 3-drop into a Vargoth, and then it mutates again.
Very true.
Yeah. I was trying to find the most fringe scenario, and then before I said it in my head, corrected myself, and then went, still kind of funny, though. Say it out loud.
The best way to get out Vargothed is when they randomly discover a Stormbringer, and the first Stormbringer sucks, but it has a Vargoth in it, and then the Vargoth casts Stormbringer again, and it's just the Giga Nuts legendaries afterwards.
Yeah. Or the mutate the 3-drop that you get from Stormbringer into Vargoth, which then has a 50-50 to cast Mutate or Stormbringer. It casts the Mutate, which hits something that gives you the perfect card, which then the next turn leads to you getting a better outcome because the Vargoth is still there.
It started well. It got a bit vague towards the end.
Yeah, well, I tried. Yeah. Can't always win those. For Viper, the game plan is pretty much slow and steady wins the race. You have to find the right turn to swing the board.
Like a butterfly.
Orange going for a tempo push here of his own. He doesn't have the most attractive looking hand for the Warrior matchup right now. He just has a few threats that he can play that he'll probably expect to get removed fairly efficiently. They might push a bit of damage in the meantime, but he doesn't have the big value generators, which is what he's really looking for in this position. No lackey generators, no bog sloshers, no barista, no shutterwalk. Those are really the key cards a lot of the time. Because you can quite easily force yourself into a loop as Shaman where you are playing a board every turn and ending that turn with 9 cards into your hand against Warrior. And that is so hard to beat.
2 important things I want to note about that game plan. 1 mind control tech was cut from Orange's list. I personally like it. I think 1 is enough to make your opponent play awkward. He still has Witchwood Piper in the deck, and Siamat has come in this week into the deck list. A number of players opted to run Siamat in their Quest Shaman this week, and I think it's specifically to make aggressive pushes and these styles of matchups.
Yeah, this was something that we saw in Americas last week, which I had to ask TJ, like, is this a new development? Like, have you been having this for multiple weeks in America? He's like, no, this is new for this week. But it does make sense. Like, it does say Battle Cry on it, first and foremost. It's just very expensive. But people already played Giggling Inventor in certain positions, which is another expensive card. And it's a much more offensive card. If you think about like what Shudderwock does when you've played Giggling Inventor compared to what Shudderwock does when you've played Siamat, that's night and day in terms of offense versus defense.
Oh, yeah. Another mutate offered, so not like a strong, again, not the gameplay that Orange wants, but if you're going to draw like the bad card in your deck, like this is the pretty ideal hand to do it with.
Your first former champ, 1-for-1 to Plague of Wrath. Like, I'm pretty interested in a second one.
Yeah, I'm thinking that exact same thing too. For Viper, he does have Super Collider in the deck, so it's always something Orange has got to consider.
It's just a very upsettingly low value hand right now for Orange, though.
Box Slasher. What if he draws Box Slasher?
The hushed tones of a man that's just seen a thing and wants to do the thing.
Oh, please draw Box Slasher. I'm sorry, Viper. Please draw Box Slasher, Orange.
Viper has to respect it, right? Like, he knows that thing has to die.
Well, yes and no, right? You didn't see Bog Slosher, and it would have been, I think, a lot cleaner than some of these turns would have been.
Sure. I think turn 4 and turn 5 were very justifiable with a lot of hands. It was former champ mutate on both turns.
I think so as well. And so that, to me, is the question, is, like, how do you respect it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he almost can't respect it with this hand?
Doesn't have an answer right now. Just has to contest.
Stack him up.
Board tension. Good old board tension.
The old-fashioned way. Kids today have your newfangled board clears and tempo tools.
Okay, of the things that aren't a Bog Slosher, that was about as good as it got this turn. 4 out of 6 still on quest. Very slow completion for Orange, but he needed to find those questing explorers before this quest expired.
Of course it's the right way.
Viper very upset at seeing that questing explorer come down by the looks of things.
It is strangely super important.
Yes.
Lackey, I believe, would be for efficiency here.
Yep.
Could
Weirdly
use...
more efficient to just not make something rush here, right?
Well, I was thinking, could you use like the Mogu and the Meteorologist, the 3/3?
Okay.
And preserve the Lackey?
Sure.
Like, I'm not too interested in having 1 health things. So using the Questing Explorer,
Use the
the
2/3/3s
Meteorologist
instead. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, that just seems much, much better to me. Just so inverse interested in using either the Mogu or my 5/5s to get.
Yeah,
that
the
job
problem
done.
with the 5/5s is you trade in and then you have a 6/1 in play against 4 1/1s.
Yeah, and so for Viper here, the Warpath is, I think, likely where his head is going to end up going this turn. It's looking pretty grim for Viper, though. He just has not had clean turns in terms of how his stuff is lining up.
Well, if he full clears this turn, and Orange doesn't find a resource generator on the following turn, he whiffs quite badly for a couple of turns here.
I'm speaking mostly from Viper's perspective, where I think you're approaching the point where you're starting to worry. You're like, oh my gosh, I drew Vargoth, I drew Spellbreaker, I picked up a Ziliax instead of a Restless Mummy, my Dynamatic hasn't found value, I don't have Dr. Boom, Archibus Elysiana is in my hand. Like, I think that this Warpath starts to look like I might need this.
Sure.
And I think that's the deviation for the play.
It's a very reasonable looking contestant anyway. Just 4-3 down into 5-5 with a 1-1 in play. Like, he's kind of just stabilized the board anyway. He still has plenty of health to play with. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times in the last couple of weeks. That one card on its own is a full hand of things in Quest Shaman. I am shocked that it took us this long to find this card in this deck.
That is a huge draw.
Yep.
Deloa, speak to me.
Thanks, guy in chat. If you're not familiar with that story, we asked Bunny where this idea came from. He was the first person we saw playing this, and he said some guy in Twitch chat just recommended it to him. Didn't even give us a name.
Deloa, speak to me.
So there you have it, Twitch chat. Feel happy with yourselves. As you are all one collective entity, you are all collectively responsible for this fantastic idea of having Witchwood Piper in this deck. So well done. Feel good about yourselves. Smiley face in chat.
Deloa, speak to me.
Not even using it this turn. He wants to just keep pushing damage. Makes sense to me.
I think he's picked up on some pretty clear signals right now that Viper does not really have efficient removal in hand, and that was true up until that Warpath was drawn. So I think it's a very valid read from Orange's side, and yeah, like now he has the value plan to fall back on, which would Piper into whatever, into Shudderwalk later on.
So keep the aggression rolling.
So yeah, exactly. Just keep up tempo for as long as you can, and then when you need to fall back into value, fall back into value.
I wonder.
Something I've noticed about almost every GM player in Europe is opportunity to seize damage because my big thing lived. All right, I'll kill their thing and go face then. It's just a very basic, fundamental thing of Hearthstone. So Viper, recognizing that's the case, put stuff in the way. Orange and stuff's in the way. All right, let's draw cards. That's the only thing I can
Viper
do.
did not like the Questing Explorer too much, and you can see he likes the Witchwood Piper even less.
Yep.
And that is why. That is 4 lackeys in the hand from out of nowhere.
I could see some other lackey. I could see these lackeys waiting a bit. It's kind of tough, though. Not seeing a clean way to do it.
Yeah, these stupid 3/6s are just making everything slightly inelegant this turn.
I will not be rushed.
One went on the other side. Like, just everything. Everything's ruined.
Deloa, speak to me.
I think it is important to make the most of it, though. I think if you leave too much stuff in play, that's a recipe for disaster. Turn 9 now. How do you bridge the gap for Viper? You got a long way to go. However, we've reached that point where things can start to be payoffs for him. 2 Omega Assembly in the deck. Dr. Boom still in the deck. 2 Omega Devastators.
Decent looking Dynamatic this turn, finally as well. Usually a pretty effective card through the early game against Shaman. Just hasn't been good up until now for Viper.
Oh, this is funny. Just if he should so happen to kill the 5/5.
Sure, then he gets to go face. Well, I mean, you wouldn't anyway, right?
I don't
it's
know.
It's a lackey. You'd
I think
still
you would.
trade with it.
I know. I think you'd go face.
I disagree. I think that was Viper just saying, it doesn't matter, I'm going to do it the weird-looking way.
I think you wanted the option.
All right, sure.
I love that.
There's no way you'd push the 1.
Great
there if the lackey
sequencing.
lived. There's no way you would push the 1.
Tell it to Gallon.
Oh, I did.
For my glory.
Viper knew that was coming, and those are not the best outcomes.
Nothing.
I'm getting interested.
In?
Well, you know me, and hit the one in the middle.
Ah, okay. So snap Earth Shock then off this
Well, Farsight's a wacky card. I'm kind of interested in that. What can we do? It's not really
So the
anything cheap
rule
left in
is
the deck.
you'll always take the middle one unless you don't want the middle one, and then you'll take one of the other ones.
Well, there's a wacky card. I love wacky cards.
These rules seem very nebulous, Admiral. Yeah, that's a pretty good faceless lackey. Oh!
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that's the Shaman gameplay I love to see.
Orange with the look on his face that just said, Sottle and Admirable are casting this right now, and I've had an argument with them about whether you're supposed to go face a lot in the Warrior matchup.
Well, you don't have to argue with me about that. I've always been in favor of that one.
No, but Orange was against it when we had that discussion, if you remember. He was saying
was
that
he
you're
really?
supposed to play more value-based, yeah.
Oh, I don't recall that.
Yeah.
Well, that's just me messing up if that's the case. Yeah, damage is very good. And this is a perfect spot to load up, too, because so much of Viper is disincentivized from warpathing. You just have so much of your own stuff in play.
Right.
So what does that mean? It means Viper's trading. Sounds like to me like that damage was value. And a tempo swing. This is what the hack of the scheme was for.
Yeah, it's still a ways away from clearing this board. I think Siamat was more the security blanket that maybe he was leaning on. Knows that he's able to tempo swing back if he needs to.
Well, how out of control can things get right now? You've seen Snip Snap, you've seen Zilliax.
Yeah.
There's no Dr. Boom loaded up.
Yep.
Viper floated 3 mana and didn't play Omega Assembly, so you have to start thinking about what draws for you become poor, depending on your turn. I think that's the objective for Orange right now, because I think a few more points of these life are still pretty expendable.
Sure. I would like to play Siamat here just because it's powerful, it's expensive, it's good this turn, and at some point I'm going to play Shudderwock, and I want that Shudderwock to have a Siamat inside it, so this just feels like a good turn to spend 9 mana on Hero Power Siamat.
It does feel that way. Quad mode.
Yep.
Choose all of them, left to right.
If your APM's fast enough, you can actually get the first attack in and then retake the Divine Shield again. That's not true. Don't no one believe that.
I was thinking if you selected Wind Fury 4 times, would it be Mega Wind Fury?
No. Just hidden Easter egg. No one's ever tried it before. It just actually works.
Deep breath from Viper. Appropriate for now. I do think in Viper's spot, you need to consider what pushing damage is starting to look like.
If you're Viper, you want to think about starting to push some damage?
There's just, your hand is offered so little right now, and it plays extremely different depending on which card you draw.
Sure.
And so that's really, I think, the issue he's facing is like, which draw is best and why? Because that's what he's playing to right now.
Save the best for last.
With that Restless Mummy drawn too, to me this makes more sense, as you have a way to continue killing the threats from Orange's side and pushing that face damage.
Think about what it means just to have an extra minion in play right now. And whether that's a Vargoth, whether it's a Restless Mummy.
I'm almost certain it's a Vargoth if that's the case.
Does he have specific plans for this Vargoth though? And if so, what would they be?
Free of that blasted time.
The plan would be Omega Assembly.
That's about it, right?
Shield block would be fine.
Sure.
For Orange, that plan is Shudderwock.
My jaws that bite, my claws
Viper.
that catch.
It's clear that was a big hurt.
Sting like a bee.
Because
2 5/5s. One of his 5/5s has got Rush already.
It's a problem.
These options are important.
Oh
okay.
my.
Less than perfect, but very good. Well chosen Shudderwock. B-, could do better.
For Viper, this play is exceptionally troublesome.
Ooh.
Because he has minions in play. Like, he's giving up everything he just pushed to develop because of that Shudderwock. And that was the wins.
You need a plan in the matchup, and the plan almost always ignores cards, because if Shaman just has smooth turns every turn, you're going to lose as Control Warrior. That's just a fact of life.
For my glory. I will not be rushed.
Evolve, man? Yeah. Okay.
6-3.
All right.
Well, that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, it's not. He really wanted the whole purpose of playing anything there was to open a space in his hand. He did kill a 4/5 out of the deal, but now he's back at 10 cards again.
He's going to get some good news, though. It's pretty bad for Viper.
Yes.
For Orange, I'm not really seeing too much that's a critical outcome on the overdraw.
Barista. It's the worst card. By some
1-11.
distance, I think. Yep.
I think Wasp and Slosher and Life Drinker, not cards you want to see show up.
I wonder.
Yep, what else?
I think, so from my perspective, like, I think he can lose a damage card because he can still just, like, divert to value plan if needs be, and I think he can lose a value card because he can just divert to damage plan if need be, but losing Barista impacts both of those options, which I think is why it's such a huge thing.
Yeah, I think for Viper, it's just what can you do? It's
Yeah.
bad matchup, bad outcome, bad pan out.
Sometimes lethal this turn. If Ethereal Lackey really plays ball.
Or Faceless Lackey, for that matter.
Well, hang on, now I'm interested. How do we get lethal with Faceless Lackey?
So you play Faceless Lackey, you get 2 Bluegill Warriors, you generate an Ethereal Lackey. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I thought he had a Witchy Lackey still. I was thinking 2 Bluegill Warriors, you upgrade the first Lackey into Murloc War Leader. And
Rockbiter Wind Fury. Come on, let's go. It's not actually quite enough, is it? No, it's not. It's 18.
oh boy.
That one hurts. That one also hurts. Admirable takes the one in the middle because that's the rules.
Well, nope. There's 2 wacky cards.
How is Bloodlust wacky?
Look at it. Look at that ogre. No one knows what he's doing.
And... okay.
Of course it's the right way.
I was just wondering, because it is a Divine Shield 6/6, right? Like, this seems...
No, you pulled the shot.
I know,
back.
it seems so obvious, but it's a Divine Shield 6/6.
It is incredibly obvious.
I am fully in support. It is a Shudderwock first and a Divine Shielded 6/6 second. But just for a second, I wondered whether Orange might be interested in leaving it in play.
I want to remind you that once upon a time, putting this back into your hand was an entire archetype.
Yes, correct. Viper is giga dead this game.
I think this would be an opportunity to introduce Terra Dead, the step up from Giga.
It's kind of a handful of garbage right now.
Sounds like I'm playing some garbage this turn. Empty the hand, Shudderwock again. So now I'm looking at that Farsight, and I'm looking at that Hagatha scheme and going, dang it.
For my glory.
It made sense at the time, though. How much more do you really need to win?
What if you just Shudderwock this turn and just make the board again?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fine to me, too. You just do whatever you want. I mean,
like, I just don't want to take a turn off. You've got Viper by the throat right now. I just don't want to let go. That's a 10-10 that Divine Shields itself and stuff. You play it.
Sting like a bee.
you don't get a ton of lackeys out of the deal, though.
Nope.
I'm thinking of a draw for Viper.
immortal prelate. The original Elysiana.
Oh, that's a draw!
Sure was. Viper needs a positive outcome here. 10-10 is dead. Excellent news.
They can have another draw.
Is it
Warpath.
Dr. Boom?
It's Warpath.
Okay.
One more clear. Then draw two Morden. Get the Armagadillo down.
Woo!
The life is precious right now.
It
I don't
sure
blame
is.
him.
Yeah, we don't care about that. Novice engineers can get burned all day as far as Orange is concerned.
There is a world here where Viper has a window of opportunity.
There is.
For my
Orange
glory.
is going to need to set up a barista to secure this game, I think.
So how much do you
Of
preserve
course it's
then?
the right way.
Like, do you completely change directions now, given that Viper drew a board
I
clear?
mean, like, as long, even if you can just fall back on like Cable Rat and one Lackey or something, like it's fine. Like that is a barista in this matchup. It's perfectly fine. So you don't need to hold on to too much.
Well, it's going to mean either burning a card or you're jamming Sandstorm Elemental or a Lackey or something.
I will not be rashed.
Suspect we'll see the Sandstorm. Yep, that's what he picks up.
So now for Viper, I'm not necessarily convinced he has to have Warpath, from his perspective at least.
The 2 Morden draw is interesting. The Dr. Boom draw is interesting. The Assembly
That draw
draw.
could be interesting.
Well, he has a Turnium Rover in his deck now.
So Mummy kills off 4/5.
Yep.
You get a 1/1 rush, you pick off a Novice. Like, cutting damage is important right now. I think he just needs to cut as much damage as possible and then find the right way to get there. It's still possible, though.
It is. Before anyone gets excited about Mechathune, he has an Elysiana in his hand, which means he would have to jam Elysiana and then get through his brand new deck before that Mechathune becomes relevant.
There is an official meter for measuring whether or not it's possible. It's whether or not I get excited.
Literally never happened.
Viper says, I will expend some life here. Need to get the board contained. Oh boy. That's 12 with the Goblin Lackey.
12 Bloodlust?
Doesn't have the mana for that.
Nope. It's 1 off anyway. Pink hearts everywhere.
It's Vicious Scalehide's half-brother. Card name I don't know.
Vile Fiend.
How did you know that?
It's said the tooltip down here
Oh,
came up
okay,
before
okay,
that
yeah.
came up, yeah. Admirable just doesn't know how to read a spectator. That's the
That's a true
issue
story.
with it.
Reads for morons who can't understand pictures.
I love for even a second you were willing to give me credit of knowing any card that isn't played in Standard, because that is not the case.
You took a moment to think about it. You said it super confidently. Yeah, for Orange, this turn is pretty much the same mindset as he's had on the previous ones. Get stuff in play and threaten.
Yep.
So for Viper, it's got to be Warpath. That Warpath time has come.
Nope. It's going to have to be Warpath and Armor Up just to get out of range of the 10 now from that Kobold Lackey. Now that 6/5 is alive.
And Viper's likely not.
Rar. Viper shrugs, and I think the shrug is about the correct response in this situation. Not a lot he could have done in that position. Orange's hand was looking like it might just gas out for a turn or two, but then Witchwood Piper, the late game addition to Grandmasters Season 2 in terms of Shaman decks, came through, and that one card is just a full hand immediately. No, not immediately. Over the course of a couple of turns, it's a full hand of stuff to do.
It represents things,
Yep.
And that was the important part. And for Orange in that game, as soon as that Witchwood Piper got drawn, it was like full steam ahead the entire time. He took a couple of insurance plans, a couple things that maybe could set up something, but for the most part, it was just do the thing over and over again that puts Viper in a bad spot. Continue to compound the issue. Attrition the warrior out. Like, that is supposed to be the strength of warrior, is powerful attrition tools and answers. But Quest Shaman is just set up in a way where it turns all of that on its head by battle cries that generate minions. And it doesn't matter if they're 1/1s, doesn't matter sometimes if they're 0/2s. At some point, they will start to threaten.
Yeah, and I loved the Shaman play from Orange in general. Like, that is a good matchup, but it's a hard deck to pilot, and it's a hard matchup to navigate. And I think he started off with a very tempo-heavy hand, double former champ, double mutate. He represented that tempo very well. He played for tempo, he pushed, he got early damage. Then his hand started to become very value-based, but he didn't let go of that tempo plan immediately. He played all his other cards for tempo first, and then when he'd run out of tempo plays, he settled back into that value plan. And then there's that beautiful wasp you in the face turn, where he knows that the board isn't super relevant because A, he's just taken a Hagatha scheme off the Ethereal Lackey, and B, he just has the big boy Siamat to come out on the following turn. So even worst case scenario, which is kind of what happened to him with the second Dynamatic coming off the top, he's still able to recover. So that's essentially 6 free damage to his opponent's face in that position.
Yep, just very clean play overall, and takes a win because of it. And so we got to go to a break, but when we come back, we're going to find out if Viper can start to tie things up or if Orange is going to run away with this series. For Viper, it's crucial, though. He's facing relegation, and he needs to have a win. Stay tuned.
Shadows are rising again, darker than they've ever been. As evil descends from the skies, the world cries out, how will we survive? Out of the hall of explorers, and up from the dusty tombs, they grab their whips and fedoras. These legends of the past know exactly what to do. There might be magic monsters, mummies in the markets, and ancient mysticism. There should be scorching deserts, and there should master of narcissism. High stakes think annihilation, obliteration of civilization. Now is the time to be brave. Evil's come to enslave, but this league's gonna save. Oh,
My name is Sam Braithwaite, and I'm the Senior Global Franchise Lead for Hearthstone Esports. This event was especially cool because it takes place right after the brand new expansion, Rise of Shadows. Historically in Hearthstone Esports, we do our big events like this towards the end of an expansion cycle, but we really wanted to shake things up and really showcase that not only is the world champion the person who can pilot the best decks, but also the person who, when presented with a brand new game, can put together the best decks leading into the World Championship. Cheers to you guys, the sold-out crowd here for the HCT 2019 World Championship.
Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship.
We've had a lot of fun games, and we're looking forward to the grand finals. showdown. Viper versus Hunter Ace. Only one can be the champion.
Oh,
Come on!
Match be dead.
Wacko pick of this coming out from Hunter Ace.
It's now or never. Archvillain reform.
Okay! In a completely solved game, Hunter Ace finds a way to maximize his chances. It's been a wonderful journey throughout the past few years of the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where stars were made and dreams came true.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe. We're in our 4th match of the day right now, and Orange is up a game over Viper. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by Simon Sottle Welch. And Sottle, I got some great news for you.
Oh, what's that, Admirable?
We have a Warrior Mirror match on our hands, a Control Warrior Mirror match.
We do indeed, and there are some differences. You've just seen that Viper is playing that Archmage Vargoth that we saw from Swids in the previous series. Do we predict that having any impact on proceedings in a Warrior Mirror, Admirable?
There's a couple things I want to look at as we roll into the game. It can have some impact, and one of the major things I'm looking at is specifically Omega Assembly. I think that's where it's most likely to have an impact. Outside of that, I'm not really seeing too many of the things you'd want to duplicate in the deck. And so the bigger things I want to talk about are the tech choices for them across the board. For Viper, there's no Harrison Jones. This is actually a benefit for him in the matchup, given the way that he will typically approach it, I believe, which is from a it's difficult to kill your opponent, so I'm not going to try to do it situation. For Orange, you notice that he keeps the Harrison Jones. And I think that there's a couple factors that work with that. Number one, there is Super Collider in Viper's deck. That's a vital tool to destroy if Orange is actually going to eliminate Viper via damage.
Okay.
It's very important for that. Number two, Orange has Acolyte of Pain in the deck, which is a card that you typically don't want to play in the matchup due to how many cards it draws. But Orange has 2 Plague of Wrath and Whirlwind in the deck for potential setups for aggression. So one of the things I'm curious and I'm looking at is how aggressively Orange is willing to draw, because there is a fine balance to it when you're going to kill them. At a certain point, it is pretty realized that you are not going to eliminate your opponent with damage and that you have to outlast them in the resource battle. If that's the case, you really have to hang on to card draw for dear life in that scenario. But at the start, I expect Orange to get aggressive, try to snag that tempo, and if he can't fail to do it, try to find an alternate plan.
Orange already having to make decisions about whether to push some tempo out here. You see Viper, even with the shield block, it's not, a straight up draw 0 cards and wait for your opponent to fatigue kind of situation. Like, if you don't have Dr. Boom in your hand, for example, like drawing through your deck to be able to secure that so your opponent does not have a big advantage of being a Dr. Boom gamer while you are not is sometimes very important. There it is.
That being said, I will say that this is talking with some of my Warrior friends, I guess I'll call them, because we all talk about Warrior all the time. There was a lot
Gallon, right.
There was no, not Gallon. Okay. That's Bomb Warrior talk. That's very different. Yeah, that's how much damage can you push. The a couple weeks ago, maybe it was last week, Hunter Ace tempoed out a Restless Mummy. And it was actually one of the bigger points of discussion for how he played the matchup versus Orange. And I was on the fence about it because talking about the tempo plan, Restless Mummy is a catalyst to the tempo plan. And not in the fact that it sits on the board, but rather that it eliminates a thing in the way and allows you to keep pushing.
Sure.
So tempoing this out, I think he's just trying to get what value he can from it, but there is some serious liability cost to playing this Mummy.
Light the fuses!
There's a lot of potential upside.
Boom can hold me.
But I think with that Dynomatic, Orange might have seen that idea of the tempo game plan be delayed 4 or 5 turns from this juncture.
Yes. And that is kind of a downside to that Restless Mummy, right? Is that Viper is playing 2 Dynomatics, which is certainly not a given these days with Control Warrior lists. But with 2 of them in there, they're very hard to use in the mirror match. Restless Mummy boards at least give that Dynomatic something to snipe, even though it doesn't take care of the reborn afterwards.
To give you an idea of how surprised you shouldn't be, Orange is running 0 Dynomatics.
There you go.
If you want my opinion, I think 0 might be the right call right now. But it tells you a lot about where Viper wants to be in the matchup. My question is, did he anticipate Orange playing it this way? And so I said this same thing last week with Gallon, the early expenditure of a board clear. There are 2 times in which Viper can get a benefit from board clears. It's when Orange uses them very early, or he doesn't use them at all. On Orange's side, it's kind of pretty much the same with the payoffs too. You use them very early on, or you don't, and you have them for later on in a matchup for a transition point.
What now?
So now I think for Viper, he is genuinely considering not using this Town Crier.
I think that's the case even with keycards missing, because like my understanding would say you can continue to draw here, because even though this doesn't directly draw Dr. Boom ever, it still thins your deck, so you do find that security later on.
Yeah. And so, mind you, I did mention that for Orange that the Tempo Restless Mummy could be a liability. Viper knows there's no Dynomatic on the other side. He knows a Warpath's down.
Yep, much more at liberty to just play out a Restless Mummy for tempo, because Orange's ability to answer it are nowhere near as common.
This actively checks an Armagadillo from Orange.
Yes, it does. Which means Viper would be able to, you say, actively kill an Armagadillo, essentially meaning kill it for 0 mana expenditure, which means he could then just follow up with whatever he likes on the following turn, being potentially his own Armagadillos on his side, just buff up Tomb Warden. Whether he needs to be more greedy than that in the matchup, who knows?
So now for Viper, this is an interesting turn. You have gotten a signal that perhaps you can seize tempo. I would normally say Viper would be very interested in hitting the button, attacking phase for 4, and doing nothing. But with exactly Armagadillo Tomb Warden in hand, that might change.
Orange's deck, though, double Brawl, double Plague of Wrath, Whirlwind, double Warpath.
Again, if Viper's able to get the AoE too early, ooh, that's a major benefit from him, even if he wants to play that slow plan.
Even if it costs you your Armagadillo and a Tomb Warden in the process?
Does it cost you the Tomb Warden, though? It might cost you their Armagadillo, but the Tomb Warden, if you get brawled or cleared here, that's just going to stick around.
That's very fair.
You have to feel out the situations in Warrior where you're snagging the tempo. It's not a clear, like, put things in play so it works kind of plan. There's a very nuanced back and forth that happens with it. And I think that was a close call for Viper.
Absolutely crucial armor total here for Orange as well. One off being able to cleanly answer this with the Shield Slam. Does not want to AoE this turn.
This looks tough.
You can use the second Warpath in combination with the Shield Slam to take care of most of the board, which is about the most attractive thing that I can see.
3-path Shield Slam. Yeah, I think it's the best you're going to get.
And this is why it's crucial, why we kind of ragged on Gallon, TJ and myself, last week for not having the Whirlwind in his Warrior. Orange has now used both Warpaths, I believe, and now has Plague of Wrath in his hand, but he does at least still have that Whirlwind as a potential draw for an activator from his deck.
Also, just with Dr. Boom, like in this particular matchup, having the Whirlwind, I think, is a liability.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dr. Boom Hero Power just does a magnificent job.
Yep.
And so for Viper, he doesn't have that Dr. Boom yet, but I will say the landscape of this matchup has changed drastically from the past, where if Viper doesn't have Dr. Boom and Orange does, it's not this immediate compounding issue. I would give him somewhere in the neighborhood right now of about 5 to 9 draws to find that Dr. Boom before it's like, okay, things are bad now.
Okay. It's like it's going to be a nothing turn, and nothing turn it is indeed.
If you have a story to tell, now is a wonderful time because there's going to be nothing happening for the next 3 turns.
There's a Dr. Boom coming down into play. What are you talking about?
The next turn.
Next turn, yeah.
That's kind of nothing.
It doesn't look like nothing to me.
Well, wait until you see the next 3 turns.
All right.
So this is a bit surprising to me with Dr. Boom in hand that Orange is going for this note. So this tells me that he's pretty interested in still trying to continue that tempo game plan where right on turn 10 he wants to use a Mega Assembly.
Potentially a way in play right now that helps to contest with buffed up Tomb Wardens if they come down on curve for Viper. Viper just played Armadillo and then passed turn 7, which seems to indicate he's got some big boys coming down on turn 8.
Yeah, when you don't have the boom, you are much more interested in actually playing this card.
Orange playing the split snap here gives him the Plague of Wrath option if he wants to go down that line. Divert from the Dr. Boom for a turn. Just fight for tempo a little bit harder. Maybe this threat is enough to get Viper off Tomb Warden, which I would consider a win for Orange as well, because that then gives him the freedom to play his Dr. Boom on that turn. I like the double snip snap. I think it was a smart play. I think it covered a lot of bases.
If I'm in Orange's position here, I'm still using the Dr. Boom.
Yeah?
Yeah, you get to clear off half a Tomb Warden.
What now?
Okay.
Like, it's very clear that your aggression has been stuffed, and so I think it's time to heavily transition the game plan.
That's fair. 8 damage from these snip snaps going into one of the Wardens.
You could also, if you really wanted to continue the tempo game plan, you do have the option, I think, of just leaving your snip snaps there.
Yes.
It's an option I hadn't considered. 10 feels like a lot to Orange, so.
I think he wants to protect some of this armor for the shield slam that he has in hand as well.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So from Viper's side, is he ever interested in cutting into some of this armor? It does cost him an enormous resource in Ziliax to do so. He's already seen one shield slam get used, so I wouldn't imagine he's going to aggressively play around the second one.
Yeah, after seeing the Dr. Boom, Viper needs to giddy up a bit. Just trying to find the way to actually develop tempo. Viper, he's going to need to draw something soon. I mean, his panouts have just been not working. 2 assemblies, Dr. Boom, Mad Genius. Those are his critical draws right now.
And this is the advantage of having the early Dr. Boom, even though Orange doesn't really have anything to do with it in terms of leveraging like Mech Rush or whatever else, is as you say, Viper now has to do 2 things. He has to start aggressively digging through his deck to find his own Dr. Boom, which pushes him closer to fatigue in the matchup, and he has to be more liberal with the cards that he's playing. Like you see here, just jamming the Ziliax. Both of those things can work out in Orange's advantage over the long run.
Not too exciting.
Security Rover is sometimes kind of exciting. 2 of them seems like one too many, though.
I'd call it a nuisance at the end. Towards post-Elysiana, it definitely improves, where players just have like a mishmash of average-looking cards.
Sure.
The card then becomes quite annoying. I think he's considering a brawl. would be a way to snag a major advantage.
Can he kill it straight? He can kill it straight up if he wanted to. It would cost him a lot of resources to do it. No, he can't actually. He's one off even with the discounts.
Look at Viper, the prayer hands. Galvanizer wins the brawl. And the Casey clap from Viper. It's been a while since I've seen him react that way.
Oh boy. Facing down relegation, needs a 2-0 week. Queues up a warrior mirror. His opponent hits the boom and then wins the brawl. Like, how could you not be salty about it in Viper's position? He's only human. Unfortunately, human beings are burdened with these things we call emotions.
What now?
Remember that I said 5 to 9 draws and not 5 to 9 turns. This is draw number 3.
I must choose. What now?
I mean, what do you do? It's looking like a do-nothing turn to me. Oh.
This is the problem now. This is the uphill struggle. You are just pushing a giant boulder uphill against the wind when you are playing Warrior into Dr. Boom. Everything you do in terms of trying to be proactive just activates all their cards into being reactive and therefore higher quality, because Rush is a mechanic that is more powerful when they get to be reactive.
This would be a good
If you do the
time for a
opposite, they're
master
just going to
play.
hunker down themselves and outvalue you anyway. Such a tough position. I think make a big mech was the right response. And you can see it was the right response because Orange had to panic brawl it in his
This would
position.
be a good
Yep.
time for a master plan.
I think continuing to make big mechs makes sense too. Orange has discovered some random stuff. You have to respect Magnetic.
Yep.
You have a Spellbreaker to perhaps not do that, but it's the timing of that Spellbreaker that's going to matter, not necessarily the Spellbreaker itself.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
So Shield Slam happening this turn? Yes, it
Ooh, I'm
is.
very surprised by the Shield Slam. That's the second one, right?
It is the second one, I believe, yep. So Elysiana Shield Slam is no longer a possibility.
Yeah, that makes me a bit nervous. So do Viper's draws.
That's the wrong 9-mana card. Viper already 4 cards deeper. He's not even finding the assemblies to go with this Vargoth either.
He's got to start accounting for hand space too.
He does. He needs to make that a live draw as soon as he finds it.
You're looking at the Tomb Warden from the previous turn. I'm looking at, he does not want to proactively load the Super Collider because I think in this matchup he expects Orange to keep Harrison and try to make a push. And that card on the far left has just been there the entire time and it's been kept. What card could that possibly be that isn't a Weapons Project or a Harrison Jones?
Sure. I mean, what else do you want to do? Just
you wouldn't keep Weapons Project either, too. I mean, it's like almost literally just Harrison Jones.
you want to just proactively load up minions here? That doesn't seem useful either.
Hey, you might
You
not
just
be
have
able to
to
make hand space this turn.
Discard Brawl or Plague of Wrath?
I'm not doing that.
It's like Viper is.
Yeah, Plague of Wrath's justifiable.
Okay.
Yeah, I like do nothing. It's a good turn for Orange to Magnetic. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. Hold the Plague, hold the Brawl. The damage push is nominal. And so capitalize afterwards. I think Viper just had to take a turn off here.
Okay.
Everything else is
then.
just, you're just bleeding your cards away.
Yep.
So for Orange, I think that's part of that dynamic too, is how much can I force before I play the Armagadillo? kind of the liberty that having Dr. Boom gives you.
Yeah, Orange has so much more freedom here. Is he happy with this board? Does he more interested in generating a board that doesn't like die to Warpath, but gives more value over to a Brawl or a Plague of Wrath? Ball's in his court. He's the one that gets to make all the decisions and dictate the tempo of the game right now.
I'll tell you what, when my opponent doesn't do anything, I don't like doing anything either. I feel like I'm getting set up. And Orange. Okay, that's interesting to me. So he's saying now that the Brawl is just ineffective against him? Makes some sense. You know, Warpath's not looking too appealing for Viper if that was the option. Curious, can you force some draws onto Orange in this spot? I was looking at like Omega Devastator and Super Collider. Maybe you're just giving up too much life at that point.
Right, it was kind of my instinct as well. It was like, does Viper ever look at that as a opportunity to equalize the fatigue counter? Doesn't have Warpath in hand anyway. Best minion survives, arguably, for Orange. It is injured, though, which is important to Viper's hand right now.
I would call it the best one.
I agree.
Yeah. He's not looking good. Viper is looking stressed and not happy. For Orange, that's going to draw Ziliax, and that means our Megadillo.
This is about as juicy a Dillo turn as you're going to get.
This is problem.
Viper looked somewhat confused by that Armagadillo coming down. Warpath a turn late and $1 short.
Yeah, well, for Dr. Boom, the Ren Stew, like, where's he at?
They've cut off the electricity. They've disconnected the water. The man's just not paying his bills.
Need the Boom stat! That's like one of the most important tools, and that has to just be spent. Like, this is a problem now.
Yep. Step one, that thing had to die. By any means necessary, more or less, for Viper.
Your magic shall not save you.
I think at this point, he is genuinely considering, like, I'm going to have to spend all the rest of this. And so I got to make hand space. Vargoth with Omega Assembly, a Dr. Boom, like, I need to draw something key.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Pretty awkward board for Orange, too. It's just like, what do I do to pressure? You just saw Spellbreaker. Like, the Ziliax feels appealing.
Yeah, after you've seen the Spellbreaker come down, just about anything with the word magnetic on it is going to look more appealing.
It's an injured minion, though.
Love that fuse thing. Oh,
So is the Segatron. Maybe not.
Viper is on 1 Plague of Wrath in his deck. There are 9 cards remaining. You know one of the cards in your opponent's hand is not Dr. Boom.
I think this is the right call from Orange. Use my weaker tools first.
Agreed. And the trades specifically engineered to respect that Plague of Wrath as well. Doesn't want to end the turn with 2 injured minions on board. Could have tempoed out much harder. Recognizes that's not the spot he's in. Doesn't want to give any potential blowouts to Viper over on the other side. He's just settled in for the long game now.
Oh, gosh, this turn hurts so bad.
I feel like 6 out of Viper's last 7 turns have hurt about this badly.
This one might be the hurtiest.
Okay.
This is
I
just
believe you.
ultra inefficient. Like, nothing here is good. We can either execute for 4 effective damage using a premier tool in a board sweep. You can mummy, which like basically holds off everything in the game. Or you can create board tension and take 7, which just shreds your shield slam potential towards the end. And I think just, yeah, split them up. Split them all up. There's no warpaths on the other side. That is first shield slam for Viper being used, so still 1 more in the deck.
Snip Snap does go into the Kaboom turn as well, which I think is another pretty solid reason why you want them split. Probably easier for Orange to burst open 1 big Snip Snap and then use the Kaboom for the full clear. Just Omega Devastator does the job there.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
It's another part of that turn that was ugly from Viper's side. Is that he ends up playing Snip Snap into a Kaboom turn.
I will say, I think Viper has done the best job that he can to extend the number of turns before the Dr. Boom is just overwhelming.
Yep.
He has done, I think, a pretty excellent job of containing it.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Orange not happy with his turn. I think
That's a
he's
Super
been
Collider.
trying very aggressively to play around this Plague of Wrath for a long, long time. I think he understands he's giving over value now, but he had no way around it.
I'm curious for Viper, do you use the Plague of Wrath or do you take the opportunity for Super Collider?
That's a good question.
You know, is Super Collider ever getting better? Is he worried about giving Orange the draws?
What now?
Super good. If the Harrison comes down, there's a Dynamatic waiting.
That belongs in a museum.
Does now equalize the counter.
This would be a good time for
Viper,
a
that
master
half
plan.
card ahead that we often talk about. Drawing first.
Job's done.
There's hand space on the weapons project, I guess. Makes sense to me. Still the boom buried. No Omega assemblies. No
Bottom,
boom.
yeah, so I was going to say bottom 6. Boom, Omega, Omega. He's had Vargoth in his hand since turn 4. Has not drawn the payoff cards to go with it. Has not drawn the ultimate payoff card in the matchup. Ah, new mech discovery. What a strange and wonderful world you are. How many times have you pressed delivery drone and gone, oh, well, I guess I'm taking a demolisher?
I think more than I think.
You think more than you think.
I think it's more than I think it is. Because my head tells me like,
What kind of statement is
well,
that?
my head's like, I don't know, 2. I've played a lot of Warrior. like at least 7 games lifetime.
Takes Mekaru here, which is a more efficient rush tool than Demolisher is, I guess, in this position.
Yeah. Is he looking for threats or is he looking for tools? And
Right.
I'd say with 2 Plague of Wraths, tools has got to be at the forefront.
Yeah, and are we even calling Demolisher a threat?
That 2 damage cranks away every turn, baby. You gotta get to demolish it. And so now for the first turn, Viper faces no pressure. The Dr. Boom shows up. And I have to say, given the resource battle that's taking place right now, this one still feels way too close to call for me. I don't know who's got the advantage right now.
Yep, I completely agree with you. It might just end up coming down to those Elysianas.
I take it back. I think Viper's got the advantage.
Are you about to mention the far right card in Viper's hand?
Indeed I am.
Because that is what my sentence was leading into as well. It's going to come down to those Elysianas, but Viper has the natural inbuilt advantage to say that he goes into that proceeding with tempo because he is still able to Elysiana Shield Slam. The slight wrench in the works for that plan is that he is the half card ahead, which means sometimes he will be pressured into playing his Elysiana first. So Elysiana Shield Slam is not the direct response to Orange's Elysiana. But I agree with you 100% that Shield Slam that Viper has managed to preserve can be a very, very big deal.
Oh, he's also got 2 Omega Assemblies left and the Vargoth there.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think Viper's got the edge. I think
a
he's
lot
got
of stuff.
I think he has a sizable advantage here, actually. This 2 Morton's quite hefty, though. You know, kind of thinking about that Elysiana turn you described, I wonder if that's like a thing Viper can do. Like, is he free to maybe expend that Shield Slam because he'd be playing Elysiana first? Not sure.
It's an interesting question. The big one. Excellent.
Yeah, Orange's hand size has gotten very awkward here. I feel like time and again when I've seen Viper in this kind of spot, he has done a magnificent job of managing hand size and manipulating the opponents.
I agree with that. I think it's super important. You were mentioning, you know, some debates that were had over Hunter Ace's warrior play. That was one thing that I noticed, and I will never profess myself to be a control warrior mirror expert, but Hunter Ace did some things in terms of filling up his hand, which seemed, we could at least say, unconventional in the warrior mirror. And as I think I said this directly in the series before, it's rare that I get to ask questions of Hunter Ace's play, but I was definitely a little confused by some of what I saw. And that is one of the hardest things to navigate, is that it's not necessarily a fatigue matchup, but it's a matchup where you want to stretch your cards out as far as possible. And by playing cards, you then allow your opponent to respond with cards in certain positions. If you allow your hand to fill up completely, you are then forced to play cards recklessly, like essentially Orange is doing here. It's only a 1-1, but it's a 1-1 that he's playing for no effect, that Viper now gets to leverage his hero power into. That is a tiny incremental advantage to Viper every time that happens.
And look at the turn from Viper. Do nothing.
Yep.
So what's Orange got to do? Something.
And why does he do nothing? Because because Orange has 10 cards in his hand this turn. So Viper knows if he does nothing, Orange has to do something to potentially avoid burning a card. If Orange does something, Viper then gets to respond with reactive cards from his own hand, have a more powerful turn.
So how do you manipulate this best? And I'm thinking for Viper, this is now the Plague of Wrath turn. You take 3 damage to get it done, and then look at Orange's hand. What does Viper do? Nothing. Turn after turn, this momentum compounds, and it becomes more and more awkward for Orange as he's struggling to find a way to not burn cards from hand effectively.
Yep.
This is the most, in my opinion, this is the most vital tool in a Warrior Mirror match, is manipulating this game state. It is incredibly powerful, and it forces Orange to limit his hand.
It's the most vital, or one of the most vital, but it's also one of the most difficult things to do well as well.
Yes.
Just take a look at the change in demeanor from Viper. Gone is the sarcastic round of applause, the salty reactions. Now he's comfortable, he's calm, he's focused. He's in the zone right now.
I can give you an idea of what Viper's likely to do.
Seven letters, begins with N.
I guess for me it'd be 6 letters. Nothing.
Nothing.
What's Orange got to do? Depends on what that last card is, actually. If the last card's not relevant, he can do nothing. But so that's what I'm going to figure out right now. Is it Whirlwind? Last card's Whirlwind, I believe.
Yep.
This would be a good time for a master.
For Orange, though,
plan.
doing nothing does carry more weight right now because Viper's pretty much just going to play Elysiana next turn.
Agreed. And with 2 Plague of Wrath in your hand, that last card being Whirlwind does seem somewhat important.
Well,
This would be a good
so
time for a master plan.
I'm thinking more about whether or not Orange actually needs to play his own Elysiana here sometimes.
I feel like when you know your opponent has a Shield Slam left, that's exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah, but if you don't do that, then you have to play Elysiana next turn, and then they get like full massive tempo on you.
Sure.
So somewhere in between. I do think he needs to try to keep that card ahead, that half card ahead in fatigue.
Yes.
For Viper, this is the easiest turn of his life. So phase 2 of the raid battle has begun. If both Elysianas are even, by a technical standard, Orange should have an advantage due to that half card. Big stuff.
Illidan, former champ, Arcanite Reaper, Gromash, Living Monument.
This story deserves a new ending.
Oh, the Boom Reaver.
Anything fast.
Both players offered Harbinger Celestia. Looked like a militia commander to me.
Yep.
All 3 of those have arguments, but you probably just take the good one. The
Lance
big
is
one, I should
interesting.
say. Livewire Lance is very interesting indeed. You know your opponent does have a weapons project
Right
remaining,
wing is
though.
also interesting. Dwarven Archaeologist is very interesting as well. After you discover a card, reduce it by 1 Omega assembly.
Sure.
Those are the Bright Wing.
Brightwing and the Lance.
Yep.
I think those were debatable picks.
Honestly, this is pretty darn even on the discoveries, I think. I would say the advantage goes to Orange due to card generation. But there's some pretty strong surprise finishing power on Viper's side.
There is, yeah.
Like when you get deep into that fatigue state, the option to just crank out 10 damage from a Grom, the timing pressure of that can just outright win you a game.
Right.
This would
Now,
be
from
a good
Orange's
time for a
position,
master
how much
plan.
does all that removal he managed to siphon out from Viper early with the pressure factor into this late game battle? Viper did manage to hold on to a Brawl. It did manage to hold on to a Shield Slam. I think the Shield Slam is super vital here because it now prompts Orange to potentially have to use some of his own removal.
Yeah. And for Viper, the slow tools to force the issue on AoE is pretty much a primary function of the post-Elysiana.
Yes.
Where you want to proactively use the slow tools. You do not want to hold them. They have very little value.
Remember, Viper is not running out of value this game. Almost doesn't matter what the rest of his deck is. He just still has plus 12 mechs in his hand if he can make space for it all.
And so now having that Vargoth in the Omega Assemblies tells me that he's going to get cranking and start churning out threats very rapidly.
Yes.
He's also a card behind a fatigue. He also is at a life disadvantage.
Orange needs tempo swings. He can't get locked in a position here where he continues to play from behind, because Viper will take that opportunity to just, you know, fill up his hand with a bunch of random mechs from the Omega Assemblies and just keep playing them turn after turn. Orange needs to find a turn where he swings back, so I'm looking at him needing to draw one of those Boom Reavers sooner rather than later to create one of those tempo swings, because Boom Reaver a Gruul seems pretty effective to me.
Yeah. So for Viper, I think that the tools that are super vital to hold, this last brawl, the Omega Devastator. Everything else I would consider fairly expendable.
You have a zap turn.
He's going to try to spend these mechs. Looks like they're too expensive.
Can spend one of them alongside the Vargoth.
Pretty interested in this 1/5 carrying the Beryllium Nullifier.
Sure.
Okay,
Do you know your opponent
then.
has Plague of Wrath left, though? I don't want to make it into a board that has 1/1s in play.
It's true. One of the things I'm thinking about is you have 2 Groms in the deck now.
What is my purpose?
So smaller stuff, better stuff.
Yep, this makes sense to me.
And he will continue to focus damage towards Orange's face. He has to start equalizing this armor.
Agreed.
Wow. I am pretty stunned that went there. The 5 is relevant on the Rusty Recycler due to the Weapons Project and Laser. Makes sense.
So he's saying if he shoots a minion there, if Orange wants to set up... I mean, this isn't a good Plague of Wrath for Orange anyway.
No, I was just thinking the Laser plus the Weapons Project clears off the 2/6.
Yeah.
So that would push 2 damage. That would kind of make up for the difference, but it would also save you a bunch of health.
Right.
It's almost like...
Okay.
I almost feel like it's a bait to Orange if you set this to 5 health, which I'm kind of in favor of. I'm trying to visualize how everything lines up. You know, Viper also has a huge incentive for pushing the Weapons Project damage every turn because he's got the 2 Arcanite Reapers. So that's 4 turns of swings that he's got locked up just in Arcanite Reaper.
If he clears the board, it minimizes the amount of sources of damage that can be thrown into this 2/6. So then sometimes he gets to magnetize a Beryllium Nullifier on a healthy minion next turn.
That's the benefit of saving this on its health. Orange says no thank you. And asks, how important is a 1/4? Not that important. Illidan is a slow tool, but we're not doing anything next to it. Whoa, this game's getting tough.
Viper just cannot make space in his hand to get Vargoth value here whatsoever. It's been a real struggle for him. It's, like I said, it's been in his hand since turn 4, which is, you know, approaching, what, 20 turns at this point.
That's a normal warrior fixture.
Yep. And he just, at no point was it good. He had the one opportunity last turn where if he got cheap mechs, he could essentially rebuy them by playing them all and then playing the Vargoth. But even then, that's just like compensation for a bad first Omega Assembly, right?
Big connection.
You ever interested in taking 5 to still have a Plague of Wrath?
I'm more interested in Devastator.
It's kind of what I was talking. Hey, okay, so like if you Devastate, you use the microbots?
Yeah. I think that... I know it seems really innocuous, but like pushing these little amounts of damage really adds up. Oh! That's illegal.
Actual illegal maneuvers.
And Viper now has a whole new ballpark to account for. You see him kind of taking some notes and perhaps doing something like he's got it. That's a whole new ball game to deal with. And like, you know, we're seeing the side of it.
Orange's Grom looks a lot better than Viper's Grom right now.
Yeah.
Orange's does 8 immediately and puts a 2-4 into play at the same time. That is stupid activator nonsense. Orange is still a few draws away. He needs a Boom Reaver, a Lance, and a Gruul before that is active.
Okay,
He's going to get there. So this is why Zephyrus always offers you Brightwing.
He's been trying to tell us.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Slow tools first.
Live wire Lance, he is down to a Boom Reaver and a Gruul.
The Boom Reaver's getting stacked too. We've seen one of the Brightwings drawn. We've seen both the Militia Commanders drawn. There's 2 Gruuls and 2 these Boom Reavers are going to be insane.
Yes. His deck, in terms of minions, is Gruul, Gruul, Boom Reaver, Brightwing.
Defend the gates!
That's a big Boom Reaver if he draws one.
Orange has no slow tools left.
And the weapon project got used by Viper. So Orange now has these lackeys to fall back on as well. I don't know about you, but I'm less excited about that Arcanite Reaper.
You really don't want to forego the 7 armor, but former champ Arcanite Reaper is so clean this turn. Like, there's just no way I feel like I can pass up 10 mana expenditure right now. There's just too many resources on both sides. Viper needs to spend.
He needs to play cards. He needs space in his hand so that he can maximize this value, this Vargoth that's been sat around for 20 plus turns.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
It is so hard to not push 7 armor when you're so far behind in armor. Some compromise. But slow stuff first. Okay, this is a good compromise.
It is.
This is actually quite good.
It is a pretty healthy compromise. Yeah.
All right, touche, touche.
Just look for a worse hero power turn to spend the 10 on the other 2 cards.
You got 1 more Grom.
Yeah.
And it's 8 mana. That's kind of like a slow tool, right? Yo.
It's the boy.
There's still a Brightwing left.
It always kills it, though, right? That's the important thing. No matter what he gets, this Grom dies. It dies quite inelegantly,
Is it
I guess.
more? I think I like the Devastator better.
Sure.
Because you have the live wire lance. Your hero power dealing 3 is clearly important to Viper right now because he just 4-win a turn to gain 7 armor. Like, who knows what else is in his hand? You know that there's a Vargoth and an Omega Assembly left. So, like, to me, pressuring that life total still seems very vital if I'm in Orange's spot. It hurts to not play a Boom Reaver here, but this might be one of the least efficient minions to play it into. Yeah, gotta make hand space if you're gonna assembly.
Yep.
I was in favor of not using the assembly.
It was a
that
risky
turn.
assembly for sure, yeah. He could have got some very bad outcomes there. Tacit agreement not to mention that card.
Oh, it's just that's not how this game's gonna end. Again, there's a meter to it. If I don't get excited about it, that means it is close to literal impossibility.
A simple yes would have sufficed.
It's for people who are watching. You know, perhaps you haven't heard me freak out about Mechathoons before. Perhaps you have. Either way, gets the job done.
Yep. It's a 10-10 rush. It's pretty good.
It's just big.
Yep.
Like we're in a very strange arena-esque phase right now.
Good time for a master.
Float like a butterfly. Sting like a bee.
It hurts to rip that Arcanite Reaper into a 4/5.
But I do like the 2-turn sequence from Viper, right? He took the good hero power on the previous turn, then he spent 10 on this turn where he just had a kaboom that was kind of whatever against the board. Everything I said about the deck is still true. It is Gruul, Gruul, Brightwing. 66% chance for the big boy.
Oh boy.
That's the big boy.
Viper doesn't flinch to it, and so I am really curious what he has cooked up on his end. Because I would be... Oh.
What?
I just missed 3 more damage. I'm very critical about warrior damage. It's rare.